sure that the likes of Arteta will be keeping an eye on Martinelli and his progress, particularly in Arsenal's season at the moment as well, make that kind of investment. I see something coming through, and even this is where they're put to the test tonight. You know, what will they do pitched into a competition like this, and what their attitude will be, and it's coming closer to open the scoring here, Mikey.
Meantime, here comes Oliviosu. That's in from the right hand side on the left foot. Here's Martinelli, little drag back and movement away from Riley. Threaded back now to Akinola. Shot comes in then from Oliviosu, and it had Nick Sanev stretching away low down to his right, but the shots are always going past that left hand post. It's a goal kick to the Dons, and well, there's passing and cohesion and movement throughout this Arsenal side, but also Oliviosu, who's been ostensibly a right-sided defender for Arsenal this evening, coming forward and showing that there was a decent bit of power there in his shooting boots, but not quite getting his bearings completely correct, and it went wide of the post. But again, another shot across the bows for the Dons, perhaps.
Yeah, never better opportunities in front of goal so far. They're starting to find that way in past the Wimbledon defensive line. They're starting to test Nick Sanev as well from close in, so Arsenal at the moment, you'd have to say, particularly the possession as well, starting to find a way into that Wimbledon back line now.
Shots out to David Bouchin joining us, and my old mate Mike McVeigh. Greetings to you, sir. So Arsenal come forward again down there at left hand side, and surely a foul there by Aziz, who got the better of Steve Seddon, but illegally so. So a late free kick then the Dons in this first half, around 6.5 minutes remaining. Shout out to Mike Flaherty joining us this evening. Greetings to you, sir. And indeed to all of you joining us around the world for last 32 Papa John's Trophy stuffed crust Tuesday evening action here at Plough Lane.
With extra cheese.
Extra pound, Rob, if you want to fork out for that, get a bottle of Coke as well.
Okay. It's a bit cold, so, you know, something warms up a bit.
But we've passed the half-hour mark with no goals, so surely we should all get a pound off, shouldn't we?
Yes. I'm still waiting for the deadlock to be broken here. As I said, lots of possession, build-up play from both sides, particularly Arsenal, who are starting to find that way into that Wimbledon back line. At the moment, it's a half that's kind of, it feels longer than it's a long first half, isn't it, Michael, basically?
It's dragging on a tad, but certainly perhaps you would argue that Arsenal perhaps have embroidered the proceedings a little bit more with that ability to work in kind of enclosed spaces, little tricks, little turns, little flicks. Certainly you can see why Martinelli is such a hot prospect for the men from the Emirates. So far, despite a couple of decent opportunities, still goalless, but Arsenal come forward again now down their left-hand side with Aziz. A couple of little step-overs takes him in towards the left edge of the Dons penalty area. It goes down under a combined challenge of Riley and McLaughlin. Now Riley will try and steer the ball forward. Roscoe played forward for him to run onto, but no chance for him to outpace William Saliba. Easily got there first and steered it back to Karl Hein. To Saliba once again, played forward now to Akinola. Martinelli dropping back into his own half and steering a first-time pass back into the path of Socrates. Now Oliviosu. Akinola once again, just about evaded the challenge of Roscoe. Moves over towards the far side, led off now for Aziz. Here's Lopez. Akinola once again. Here's Serjan. Lopez once again moving down that left-hand side. But again, not making much headway against a well-drilled Dons side. And in the end, Arsenal forced to go back to halfway with Socrates. Oliviosu. Here's Martinelli. Now it's Cottrell. To Martinelli once again. He'll be pulling the strings once more and delivering a decent pass over to the far side for Lopez, cutting inside on the right foot to the edge of the box. Flicked on now for Serjan. Oh, and well blocked there by Will Nightingale. There's another quicksilver pass and move there for Arsenal. Once again, bypassing the Dons' defence, setting themselves up another decent opportunity. Not the first one we've seen this evening for Serjan, looking to pull the trigger, but Will Nightingale was there and prevented that ball travelling any distance whatsoever. And again, Arsenal all flicks and tricks, but the Dons, when they needed to, were resolute in defence, and a good bit of play there from the captain.
Yeah, excellent work by the Dons captain there to snuff that attempt out, but Arsenal coming again. They're looking more likely to open the scoring here at the moment, Michael.
3 minutes to go then till half time. Still the Dons nil, Arsenal nil, and goes back to a pre-season friendly against another similarly youthful Arsenal side some 10 years ago at the Cherry Red Records Stadium. James Shea, I think, was in goal for Arsenal. Benik Afobe, of course, an established league striker, I think was the man who scored their consolation goal that day. As Osu now delivers a ball into the centre. Reflects into the path of Palmer, couldn't quite turn away from his man. Back now with Chislett, tries up with a shot. Reflects off Serjan. Then McLaughlin feeling a real painful challenge just inside the D on the edge of the area. He stayed down. And he's back on his feet now, but certainly you could hear his yell, I think, from way up here in the commentary gantry. Roscoe comes forward now for the Dons, plays it to Palmer. Ball ricochets back forward towards Roscoe, but it was Saliba who was there, and again the man in charge. So, yeah, just thinking back to that game some 10 years ago, the Dons were winning 2-1, but similar sort of display there, and Arsenal always with a great tradition of bringing through the youth players, and certainly plenty of potential for them on display here this evening. And here's probably the pick of the bunch. Martinelli clipping the ball over the top of the Dons defence, but couldn't quite angle the pass as he would have wanted into the path of the on-rushing Nicholas Muller, and in the end it was Callum Bailly who was able to shepherd that one back to Nick Zanev. He finds Nightingale, back to Zanev once again. Clearance forward, and it's arrived nicely into the feet of Chislett. Now here's Osu down the left-hand side, tried to flick the ball forward. Ryan Alebiosu once again in the way. A real battle royale between those two on this particular evening. Chislett, though, will pick it up for the Dons, midway inside the Arsenal half. Coming back towards halfway, here's Terrell Thomas. Wesley high and forward away towards the far side. Seddon takes the ball on the burst, takes it beyond Lopez. Still Seddon, but couldn't quite get the better of Saliba, who again stood his ground, and there was a real no-nonsense barrier there between Steve Seddon and potential attempts on goal, but it was very well taken on the burst there by Seddon. But now Arsenal spring straight up the other end with Martinelli. Couldn't quite find Muller though in the centre. Cleared as far as Osu on this near side, who goes to ground under challenge from Catalin Serjan. So free kick to the Dons end, midway inside their own half. But, well, with around a minute remaining, Steve Seddon, we all know what his buccaneering and bursts are like down the left-hand side, but deployed on the right here this evening. But I tell you what, Rob, no less dynamic, and was able to skip past one challenge there, but couldn't quite get the better of Saliba. But good purposeful forward play there from Steve Seddon right at the end of the first half, with 2 additional minutes announced.
Yeah, Wimbledon needed something there, I think, to liven it up. It's Arsenal starting to dictate play a little bit more. Opportunities down the other end for them, finding their way in behind that back line. So that's what Glyn Hodges and Nick Dawes will be looking for at half-time, for Wimbledon to perhaps liven it up to test Arsenal a little bit more in the second half. But of course, you've got a strong bench as well for Wimbledon tonight to turn to should they need to, if they're looking to make progress in this competition. Indeed,
and of course we have seen plenty of the Dons going forward anyway so far this evening, but yeah, not just that, vital finish forthcoming. A couple of passes misplaced as well. A couple of saves still though for Karl Hein to make, but it's Arsenal at the other end who have carved out the majority of the opportunities, and certainly the more presentable ones. Nick Zanev having to make a couple of important saves to repel Arsenal, with Martinelli and the likes of Nicholas Muller also in the mix. Catalin Serjan also very nearly capitalising on a couple of decent balls played through to him. But the Dons, when the occasion has demanded it, have stood their ground in defence and done well in keeping the scoreline blank so far this evening.
So I think that's what I think Glyn and Nick will probably take from, in particular, the fact if they can hold it through to half-time here and not concede. That's another bit of work they've done in terms of maintenance ahead of a big South London derby, of course, this Saturday.
So we've got around 21 seconds to go then of the announced stoppage time. Still the Dons 0, Arsenal 0. Live on radio WDN with the Dons youth up-and-coming sensation Roberto Cornelito and Socrates' distant cousin Mike T up here in the commentary gantry, although I've not had that verified. But here's a no chance now maybe for Seddon to burst down the right-hand side. Oh, and he's gone down under challenge by the backtracking Lopez.
Oh, he's not interested.
Well, certainly a very contentious moment. We had Seddon with that real burst down the right-hand side just a few moments ago when he went past Lopez in the first instance, but then couldn't get past William Saliba. But on this occasion, another similar setup with the ball angled high over towards that far side. Seddon at full pelt, getting there just ahead of Lopez. Both players going to ground. Certainly, even from this somewhat elevated and distant vantage point, certainly not unrealistic claims, you have to say, for a set piece there in favour of Steve Seddon. Paul Callenby also having words with the referee as the half-time whistle has now gone. So certainly maybe one to look back on a later juncture, and certainly an instance of the Dons in the midst of maybe Arsenal starting to get into a real passing rhythm now and creating a succession of chances, at least offering something by way of riposte.
Football should bring us all together.
It's part of our national fabric.
And at the heart of our communities.
We escape from reality.
We connect with others.
And we celebrate and commiserate as one.
But for some, supporting the team isn't that easy.
They don't feel welcome or included. We must all do more to make a change.
Players, fans, managers and staff.
We must stand together.
As allies for all.
Lesbian, gay, bi, trans or straight.
People of all orientation
and gender identities are part of the game.
Football is what brings us all together.
We must continue to support one another.
Wear rainbow laces with pride.
And share our experiences and stories.
Because everyone is welcome here.
We're all part of what makes our game special.
So everyone must feel safe and included.
And we will improve.
We will change to ensure this happens.
In stadiums,
Online.
And in our communities.
So let's join together and celebrate our diversity. Let's unite and raise awareness.
Because discrimination in any form will not
And cannot be accepted.
By any of us.
Not today.
Or any day.
following your heart, in spirit, in soul. You make every tackle, score every goal. You're part of it, wherever you are in the world. From the first minute until the last kick. Victories, heartbreaks. You're part of the fabric, the passion, devotion, supercharging emotion. For you there is only one, abiding loyalty, togetherness that is second to none. Follow every kick, every tackle, every goal. With access to live stream games and matchday commentary, with coverage spanning the globe. Behind the scene content, newsletters and match highlights.
indeed you're enjoying the broadcast and seeing the Dons pit their wits against the cream of the Premier League academy sides, albeit in, as we mentioned earlier, Rob, circumstances which as Wimbledon fans certainly have a certain resistance to, but alas, the Dons left with no other option but to just get on with it and make the best of the situation.
Yeah, as we say, you know, we're respectful of all our supporters' views, of course, but from a management point of view, the images are next door, both saying that at the end of the competition there is the day out at Wembley. There is important prize money as well to be had too, so they're looking at it from that perspective. And an indication in terms of the side they put out there tonight, a strong one as well against these Arsenal youngsters. And players, I said, in particular the likes of Roscoe and Palmer up front, who are looking for that service to break the deadlock here and try and make Wimbledon progress further in this competition.
Meantime, here's Steve Seddon now, and perhaps that more unfamiliar right-sided berth for the Dons this evening. Lays the ball off now for Palmer. Was back for Paul Kalambayi, who's, well, shanked that cross high and behind for a goal kick to Arsenal to be taken by Carl Hine. Coming up for 48 minutes gone then at Plough Lane. Dons 0, the Arsenal Utes 0. Here come Arsenal now with one of the non-Utes, you have to say, Socrates Papastathopoulos. Combines with Taylor Hart, and then here he is once again. Big, imposing figure at the heart of the Arsenal defence. And another player I think they've been trying to nurse back following a recent injury. Meantime, here's Olebiosu now down the right-hand side for Arsenal. Here's Lopez now towards his left-hand side. Got Taylor Hart on the outside. Back into his own half now, though, for William Saliba, who just came under a little bit of pressure there from Ollie Palmer, but was ultimately able to just regain his balance and find Socrates, who's now warding off a challenge from Roscoe. Olebiosu on the far side sees off Osiu. Terrell Thomas doing ever so well to chase the Arsenal players back deep inside his own half there. Now ball launched forward towards the Dons penalty area, but Sanev will collect the ball just before the arrival on the scene of Kido Taylor Hart. Dons try and get things going down their right-hand side, but it's a misplaced pass. There's no real chance there for Ollie Palmer to bring the ball under control. There's a free kick to Arsenal for a foul on Joel Lopez, who of course came under that really heavy challenge in that first half. But now thankfully back on his feet and seemingly fully operational once again. Once again though, the Dons frustratingly trying to build up the play and just not able to complete the pass and move. They've got themselves a free kick now in towards centre field. Shane McLaughlin that's standing over the ball. It's about 15 or so yards inside the Arsenal half. Your name happens to be Roberto Carlos. Probably not much chance of a shot, and so it proves. Played short then by McLaughlin into the centre. It's Chislett who whipped the ball into the centre. It was Kalambayi who went for it. So too did Roscoe, but offside. The adjudication of the assistant on this near side. But just for a moment there, it looked as though the Dons had stolen the march in a similar set-piece situation to one that they created in the first half at the other end. But once again, the flag of the assistant is what comes to the rescue of the Arsenal team. And here they come forward again now themselves with Lopez tries to play it into the centre of the field looking for Moller, but it's Nightingale who got in the way. Now Roscoe over on the far side, charging forward, played on the outside now for Osiu, tries to take it around Olebiosu, did ever so well, caught Osiu up and was able to intercept and alleviate any potential danger for his side. Here's Saliba now for Arsenal, with inside his own half. Nice little drag back and turn away from Ollie Palmer. Moves forward into the Don's half. Now here's Aziz. That's on down the line for Taylor Hart. Up against Kalambai. Back now with Lopez once again. Nowhere ready for him to go. Well closed down by Seddon. Back now with Akinola. Played now across into the centre circle for Socrates. Here's Moller. Laid off now for Cottrell. Lebiosu on the far side. Cottrell once again. Socrates once more. Again, Arsenal biding their time, knocking the ball around, looking to pick the killer pass. Not quite managing to have any joy so far this evening, though, in terms of a goal, even though they did come close on a number of occasions in that first half. Dons have done what they've needed to repel the men from the Emirates.
Kind of a game we kind of had on Saturday as well. We had 5 first half goals. It's still goalless here as we're approaching well, the hour mark eventually is getting ever closer, and at this stage as well I feel that in open play it's probably going to be only one goal that might settle it, and we may be heading towards an additional solution perhaps to decide this tie tonight, Michael.
As Palmer now flicks the ball on towards Roscoe at the other end, in towards the edge of the box, takes a shot, and it's taken a little deflection on the way through, and made it fairly straightforward a save for Karl Hein, but well worked there between Palmer and Roscoe. And now the Dons coming forward again now with Seddon, now Chislett, Osu on the overlap, delivers across into the centre. Palmer goes in, looking to maybe pounce with a headed opportunity, but Karl Hein once again very, very commanding in the Arsenal goal, prevents that being an opportunity for the Dons. But certainly that earlier chance for the Dons, just a few moments before that particular ball went in. Maybe for the first time this evening, or maybe one of the rare instances where we've seen a good understanding there, and Palmer and Roscoe, the flick on went perfectly into the path of Roscoe from Palmer. That was always going to be the key, wasn't it, Rob, this evening, to see how the two of them would work in tandem against certainly a very powerful and very experienced Arsenal backline. But certainly signs there that they may well be able to conjure up something between the two of them before the night is out.
Yeah, hopefully. I think the instructions in at half-time there as well. They've got to do more out there to try and test that Arsenal line, as you said, particularly the experience that they have there. They're up against tonight.
So 54 minutes gone then here at Plough Lane. Still the Dons 0. Arsenal 0 in this last 32 tie in the Papa John's Trophy. There's Osu now over on that far side. Checks his run, plays it back to Riley, and then Terrell Thomas skipped away from his man, but in doing so overran the ball and out of play. For a throw-in to Arsenal. And just touching upon that central defensive partnership, certainly that William Saliba certainly didn't come cheap when he joined from St Etienne. Reported transfer fee somewhere in the region of £27 million, which is not an inconsiderable sum of money.
A couple of stadiums for that.
Indeed, so certainly a player who arrived with a good reputation, and every bit the equal in that respect, you would imagine, of Socrates, who for the most part have kept the Dons quiet. Just a very nonchalant kind of reassurance about them. And, at the moment keeping things pretty much watertight at the back, but Arsenal not yet managing to get back fully into the stride that maybe we saw towards the closing stages of the first half. Still seeing plenty of possession, but maybe again now without Martinelli, who certainly was the instigator of a lot of the little bits of trickery and flicks and sleights of foot that we saw in that first half. So again, not to question the ability of the remaining Arsenal players on the field, but certainly Martinelli with a burgeoning reputation at the Emirates. That's a great goal he scored last year at Stamford Bridge for Arsenal. So first team regular, just returning back from injury, but it's the Dons now at the other end. Ball into the centre. It's a downward header, destined for that bottom left-hand corner from Roscoe. The cross came in from Ossu, but in the end, Hein ultimately able to scramble down to his right and grab that ball. It was well directed on target by Roscoe. Not the easiest ball for him to deal with as it came in from Ossu from that far side. He did well to angle it goalwards, but without sufficient power, even though he got the direction to see it past Hein. Now Arsenal towards the other end with Alebiosu. Now Cottrell. Right over towards his near side. Here's Lopez. Now here's Aziz. Saliba. Now here's Akinola inside the centre circle. Comes under challenge and a pretty no-nonsense one at that from Oli Palmer, but emerges unscathed, and that's more importantly with the ball. Now Socrates will find Saliba moving forward. Played on the outside. To his left now for Lopez. Aziz once again moving in now towards centre field, pursued by Seddon. Sent forward now into Muller, but it's Thomas who'll get it clear for the Dons. Forward now to Roscoe. Now Chislett will release Ossu down that left-hand side. Angle pass now into the path of Palmer, tussling with Saliba, but it's the Arsenal man who not only wins out, but manages to steer it forward into the path of the Arsenal captain, Cottrell. Now Saliba once again, played on the outside, again to his left. This time it's Guido Taylor-Hart brings the ball under control. Now here's Lopez. Taylor-Hart once again. Here's Aziz. Played in towards the edge of the box now for Serjan. And foul there on Riley. In the end, as Arsenal couldn't quite play the killer pass or keep the move going. The result now in a free kick to the Dons. We're in for 14 minutes gone then in this second half. Dons 0, Arsenal 0. Free kick launched forward by Nick Tanev up towards Palmer, who's on this occasion ruled to have been fouled by Saliba. And another free kick then to the Dons. Chislett and Riley standing over the ball. It comes into the edge of the box, helped on by Nightingale into the left side of the 6-yard area on flag. Indeed, foul, I think they're given on Karl Hein by the on-rushing Adam Roscoe. So, free kick then to Arsenal inside their 6-yard box. But once again, the Dons proving they do have the wherewithal to cause some kind of disquiet inside that Arsenal penalty area. They've delivered some pretty decent set pieces in there throughout the duration of the evening. But again, that big money signing of William Saliba and the man with 90 caps for Greece, has played at the World Cup for them, of course, Socrates Papastathopoulos, for the most part ensuring a fairly peaceful night for Arsenal, but of course still time for the Dons to conjure up further pickings perhaps. As Aziz now tries to thread the ball down the inside left channel looking for Taylor-Hart, but wasn't the ideal pass played forward to him by Aziz, and the Dons were able to intercept and clear. Forward for Oli Palmer, flicked on towards Roscoe, but it's Socrates who's there and will turn it back to Karl Hein.
We've played an hour and it's still goalless here as well at the moment, and they've really tested here so far this evening, which I suppose is a real credit to this Wimbledon backline, and as I said, we're trying to build upon here in terms of develop that defensive cohesiveness. We're still creating and having the possession, but no goals yet.
So Arsenal though not backward in coming forward down that far side, but ultimately losing out in that tussle between Osu and Taylor Hart, I think it was. So it's a throw into the Dons. Here's Riley moving forward from midway inside his own half, forward into the path of Chislett. Now here's Thomas, here's Nightingale. Up and clips it forward towards the near side. Sedland as well, takes it on the chest. Tries to move away from Lopez. Still Sedland, closed down well by Lopez. Back it goes now to Kalambayi. Now here's Nightingale. Across now to Thomas once again. Moves away towards that left touchline. Tries to clip it down the line. Loops up and onto the top of the east stand off of Guido Taylor Hart. For a throw in to the Dons. Well, talked quite a lot about Socrates this evening. He's had a lot of the ball for Arsenal, the heart of that defence, and very assuredly bringing ball up forward and trying to trigger off a few attacks for his side. Part of a pretty formidable centre-half duo we've seen this evening, but one little blot on his copybook when he was the first player to be sent off at Euro 2012 for 2 yellow cards, so that was not particularly fond memories of that competition. But so far this evening, ensuring minimal joy for Messrs Palmer and Roscoe and any other potential takers in yellow and blue, but again with some 63 minutes gone now here at Plough Lane and still goalless. Certainly perhaps questions maybe about maybe Arsenal needing to convert some of the very promising and penetrative possession we've seen from them into maybe a goal here this evening. Again, Martinelli now has left the field at half-time, so maybe a little bit of spark of creativity from them might be a little bit lacking in this second half. He was certainly the orchestrator of a lot of the little flicks and balls into the Dons penalty area. Had a couple of chances himself as well with a header that you'll certainly feel he should have scored, which Nick Sanev somehow managed to deflect away.
Changes on the foot here. I think Ryan Longman's going to be making an entrance to this game. We've been seeing a better start to this second half. Seeing a little bit of way through on the Arsenal goal, and Longman has been in good form recently. I want to get out there and get into this Arsenal side. Of course, they've had experience of playing at this kind of level, these kind of players as well, at 23s football, 21s football for Brighton. Which Max Sanders, I see, is back doing a good job again for Brighton against Southampton recently with a good goal.
Well, indeed, Robin. We look at how the Dons have played so far this evening, and certainly done a reasonably good containing job on Arsenal at times, but certainly with the wherewithal maybe with 1 or 2 changes to have some realistic chance of going on maybe to land the spoils here tonight. Certainly no reason for the Dons to feel intimidated, and certainly Glyn Hodges, who likes to at least be on the attacking front foot. I mean, a good example of that recently was Rochdale, wasn't it, when it was 0-0, but even then his substitutions were attacking ones in the closing stages, and who knows, even as we speak, is maybe plotting Arsenal's potential downfall with 1 or 2 shuffles of the yellow and blue pack.
Yeah, that's Ryan Longman who's imminent here, getting changed very quickly.
As a shot comes in now from about 25 yards out from Miguel Aziz, and certainly plenty of power. It's straight down the centre of the goal, but thankfully for the Dons, so too was Nick Sanev, making another straightforward catch. And now rolls the ball outside of the penalty area. Goes to launch the ball upfield. 20 minutes gone then in the second half. Still the Dons 0, Arsenal 0. Goal kick from, or free kick rather, from Sanev onto the head of Palmer, but it's going to be cleared away from this near side by Lopez for Arsenal. Cleared down the line towards Moller, but it's Kalambayi who gets there first. And sure enough, here indeed is the long man himself.
Roscoe coming off. More game time for him this evening. Ryan Longman will be keen to make an impression here now. So he can break the deadlock in this tie.
A number of goals to his name this season as well, of course, so he'll certainly relish the opportunity of taking on this formidable centre-half duo for Arsenal. And sure enough, here is Socrates now holding off for Palmer, just inside his own half. Palmer, though, will not be denied. He pursues Lebioso over to the far side and forces the Arsenal youngster into conceding a throw. So good play there from Palmer. Throw-in taken down the line in towards Longman. Ultimately, though, he deflects the ball behind for a goal kick to Arsenal. But Longman certainly wasting no time in getting in and amongst the opposition. In fact, he might have a chance now. It's a well-won challenge there by Palmer. Oh, it is indeed Ryan Longman, and within about a minute of coming on, he's given the Dons the lead. Well, brilliant play there from Ollie Palmer, intercepting and really harassing that Arsenal defence, giving the ball away. It broke perfectly for Longman, edge of the penalty area. Ball drilled into the bottom right-hand corner. I think Hein got a not inconsiderable amount on that one. Certainly got hands to it. But such was the velocity and accuracy that he couldn't keep it out of the net. And, well, midway inside the second half, it's Wimbledon 1, Arsenal 0. And, well, talk about a super sub. Ryan Longman has not just come on and ruffled a few feathers. He's come on and given the Dons certainly a very, very valuable lead indeed. Although Arsenal, I think in the build-up to that, have had a player sustain an injury who's still receiving treatment, so just awaiting a kick-off. But, well, there was no questioning there the finishing credentials of Ryan Longman. And again, just continuing that kind of real harassing and haranguing there we saw from Ollie Palmer a few moments previously, having forced Ryan Lebioso into conceding a throw-in. And then Arsenal maybe a little bit negligent, maybe a little bit too over nonchalant across their backline. It was a wayward pass, and I think Palmer spotted the opportunity to intercept. And it ricocheted perfectly for Longman, edge of the penalty area, right-hand corner of the net. And the Dons are 1 up. The Arsenal player who was down is now back on his feet. I think it's number 61, Tim Akinola. I think may have been the man just dispossessed there by Palmer. So I think painful for him. He's back on his feet now, and in fact he's just been shown a yellow card, I think, by the referee. So on the basis of that, the referee was playing an advantage there for the Dons to allow Longman to run on and score. But certainly, particularly in the miserable last few moments for Tim Akinola, down injured, having received treatment. He's now being helped back to this near touchline. Then gets the yellow card brandished at him by the referee. And he'll now make his way back onto the field shortly. But talked about the Dons potentially weaving a bit of magic, and maybe Longman able to succeed where maybe Roscoe hadn't done so this evening. And that's another one to add to his impressive CV of Wimbledon goals, Rob.
Yeah, indeed, 5 goals now for Ryan Longman. And an immediate impact from him here tonight. Looking for the deadlock to be broken, and finally it has. I wonder if that will spur Arsenal into some sort of response here. But from a Wimbledon perspective now, it's a very effective substitute indeed. It's something to build upon and try and get their noses further in front here and put this tie beyond the young guns here.
So coming up then for 19 minutes remaining here at Plough Lane. Wimbledon 1, Arsenal 0. Ryan Longman in a few moments of coming on as a substitute, forcing the dynamic and the pendulum of this particular cup tie to swing very much in the Dons' favour. Since maybe again in this second half, with the absence of Martinelli, that Arsenal perhaps and created that many chances, maybe lacking a little bit of spark and inspiration, lacking a few ideas maybe as the half has gone on. But Dons seizing the moment to get themselves in front, and once again a good bit of defending as Arsenal try to rectify the scorelines with Cottrell. Ball's back towards halfway. All deflects out of play. It's a throw into the Dons on this near side. Paul Calambari then will take the throw for the Dons, about 5 yards inside his own half. Dons in front now by a goal to nil, leading towards the closing stages of this last 32 Papa John's Trophy tie. And Longman takes up the running once again, moves in towards centre field. On the outside now for Osu. Great chance to take the ball on. Oh, and he's made it 2-0. Brilliant play from the Dons. Ryan Longman, a goal and now an assist. Arsenal caught out of the back once again. Slipped over towards that left-hand side. Osu charging into the left-hand side of the area. Ultimately one-on-one with Karl Hein. And a superb finish. I think the keeper may have got something on it. But ultimately I think the ball ended up in the roof of the net from Paul Osu. And what a return to first-team action from him. Having been out of the picture for a while, but no better way to establish your first team credentials than that. Wimbledon 2, Arsenal 0, and well, 2 goals in just a matter of moments has suddenly given the Dons clear daylight between themselves and an Arsenal side who hitherto had been pretty impressive. Plenty of movement, plenty of passing, created decent opportunities, admittedly mostly in the first half, but now it's the Dons who have really from an attacking perspective, caught fire themselves moving forward, and now they force themselves another free kick. But Ryan Longman, well, he's done exactly what Glenn Hodges hoped it would say on his particular tin. A goal and an assist, and now it's the Arsenal youngsters who are looking down the barrel of a potential last 32 exit in this season's Papa John's Trophy.
Yeah, you think they're going to make progress here now. Got themselves a free kick over on the far side. Joe Pigott about to be introduced as well. He'll fancy getting on the score sheet too. And Wimbledon have done very well in the first half this evening to contain Arsenal. But now with their 2-goal advantage, you really fancy them to see this tie out, particularly in the absence of Martinelli, who was making an impression for Arsenal in the first half. A set piece opportunity now over on the far side. Pigott looking to make an entrance here as well. And it's all looking very encouraging indeed for Wimbledon, with about 15 minutes of regulation time left in this half. Wimbledon 2, Arsenal 0. No doubt the Dons were certainly at the very least holding their own, rather than holding on in this particular match. Another free kick then is delivered from about 30 yards out from McLaughlin. It's high and it's wide and it's a goal kick to Arsenal, but all of a sudden, stroke of tactical genius there from Glenn Hodges, introducing Ryan Longman, who almost immediately opened the scoring. Now has set up the second goal for an emphatic finish from Paul Osu. And now maybe the Dons will try and look and stretch further ahead, because it's the man himself, Joe Pigott, who's coming on in favour, or in place rather, of Ollie Palmer. We are also going to see numbers 90 and 95 from Arsenal.
Indeed, so that's Brooke, Norton, Cuffy and Joel Idaho who's going to come on in that particular order. And all of a sudden, well, Dons are finally finding the wherewithal to break down an experienced Arsenal backline. Again, 2 goals conceded in quick succession, and perhaps mirroring some of the defensive frailties at the moment that some of the Arsenal first team are exhibiting.
It's all good for Wimbledon's squad though, particularly as I said, with a couple of big games coming up inside the next week. They'll be really keen as well, I think, in this sort of situation to keep this clean sheet here tonight. They've worked hard defensively. Also, now they've got themselves into a comfortable position by 2 goals here. Be determined to see this tie through and progress to the last 16.
Those two Arsenal substitutes then waiting to come on as Lopez in the meantime takes up the running for Arsenal. Angles his run in from the left hand side towards centre field, but again the move breaks down. It's Longman once again as well, plays it on the outside now for Kalambai. Flick back through the gap once more for Longman. Now here's Piggott with the ball under control, finds McLaughlin. Now Seddon up down the line for Kalambai. Bond's doing very well indeed to keep possession, and with Arsenal rushing back to close them down at every opportunity, doing extra well to keep possession, particularly given the somewhat limited spaces that they've had to work in the last few moments. Play now switched over to the left hand side. Here's Callum Riley, moves forward from halfway, lofts it over to the near side. Seddon will get on the end of this one, up against Lopez. Nasty dink pass into the right side of the penalty area for McLaughlin, but he was ultimately dispossessed by Cottrell and was then deemed to have fouled the Arsenal captain as he tried to get the ball back. But that indeed is Cottrell's last participation for this evening. He's now going to be substituted with Brooke Norton-Cuffy, another double-barreled Arsenal man coming on. The closing 12 minutes or so. And sure enough, clickety-click, the time is up for number 66, Miguel Aziz. And Joel Idaho is going to be coming on for that closing period for Arsenal. And I'll make the total combined shirt numbers of that double substitution as 292. Which of course gives you a real flavour of the regular type of games we face against the Arsenal academy sides, and indeed any of the young sides that we've played in the last 4 years or so since they were admitted into this competition. As Arsenal try and get going now down the right hand side with Taylor Hart, but ultimately has fouled Terrell Thomas there in his attempts to get on the end of that pass. So another free kick to the Dons then, with coming up for 11 minutes remaining then here at Plough Lane, and all of a sudden the Dons, those two quick fire goals. Ryan Longman, the executioner of the first one, the architect of the second. Paul Ossu re-establishing his first team credentials with a really superbly drilled finish. As the occasion getting to one of the Arsenal players now who's kicked the ball away in the descent, and I think it's a sending off for Tim Akinola. Free kick awarded to the Dons, and in a moment of temper, and one he's instantly left to regret, kicking the ball away towards the near side. He'd already been booked in the build-up to the opening goal from Brian Longman, and now leaves the field almost as if to kind of epitomise the kind of general decline of Arsenal in this particular game as it's gone on in terms of all-round play and possession. Very few chances created. Dons then suddenly seizing the ascendancy to go 2-0 in front, and now they're a man on top as well, and Tim Akinola will no doubt receive, I dare say, fairly stern talking to from his bosses. Obviously at that kind of level, at youth level, you want discipline to be a primary part of their education, but certainly at moments where he saw red there, Rob, in more ways than one.
Yeah, silly that towards the end of the game. I'm sure it's an experience that he'll learn from, particularly out there. That's what they'll be looking at in terms of temperament, and want to be in terms of being a first team player and developing into men's football as well. I'm sure he'll learn from that. But when you started 2-0 down and there's still time to get back into this game, you look at that, and a little bit costly that as Arsenal reduced to 10 men.
And that surely just makes Arsenal's task even harder for the remaining 9 minutes to try and make inroads into this 2-goal Wimbledon lead, as Joe Piggott now will go into the book for a foul on Catalin Serjan.
Yeah, that's disappointing. You don't want one of your key players picking up a Another yellow card to his name there as well, really, at the moment. Joe Pigott, such a key player for Wimbledon, and just making a late appearance in this game.
Indeed, especially when you weigh up the circumstances, Rob, isn't it? The fact that, the Dons are 2-0 up, the play was going nowhere, there was no real need to make that challenge. And again, it's a booking for Joe Pigott, and now Arsenal with a free kick from, well, pretty much on the centre spot, taken by Socrates. And here's Serjan, back to Socrates. Plays it forward, intercepted well though by Nightingale. No one there though to challenge William Saliba, but now Longman does arrive on the scene, putting real pressure on the former St Etienne man. Ultimately though, with the composure and the physicality to manoeuvre himself away from Longman and then play it across now to the path of Socrates. Now here goes Taylor Hart for Arsenal. Turns and plays it back now to Saliba. Now here's Serjan, just on the halfway line towards his near side, making his way towards centre field. Tries to clip it forward, but misplaces the pass that was intended for Idaho. Now the Arsenal substitute does manage to get on the end of the pass. Well challenged by Callum Bailly. Arsenal though still have it with Guido Taylor Hart. Now Idaho towards centre field. Now here's Serjan once again. Oh, it's a misplaced pass, looking for Taylor Hart, but the Dons can come away with it now with Longman. And now Pigott. He's got Chislett ahead of him. He's got Ossie once again making a run into the left side of the box. Tries to combine with Pigott. It'll break for Ossie once again. Oh, but ultimately losing out on the challenge with Serjan. But it's the Arsenal man who deflects it away over on that far side for a throw-in to the Dons. And well, with coming up for 6.5 minutes remaining of the regulation time, and with the Dons 2-0 in advance, and also with Arsenal down to 10 men, you sense that as the seconds tick on, this is an increasingly a done deal for the Dons. Done deal. Very much so. And the other Ryan Longman has come on and really made the difference as well. Seddon is caught by a late challenge from the man who took over the captain's armband for Arsenal from Cottrell. It's Joel Lopez. Again, those two have been at it like a pair of strays throughout the evening, and I think now the Arsenal man is going to be shown the yellow card. Of course, there was that incident, the coming together between the two of them just before half-time, and Seddon certainly felt he should have been awarded a free kick. Well, he's got one now, and Joel Lopez sees yellow. And now Nick Sanev will take the resulting free kick for the Dons. 4.5 minutes remaining of the regulation time. The Dons 2, Arsenal 0, and I was about to say, as that foul was committed by Lopez, that, well, certainly it was a promising move to bring on Ryan Longman. Certainly thought that he might mix things up in the final third and be able to maybe galvanise the Dons forward line, introduce some fresh thinking, some fresh ideas. But surely, in the short time scale, Rob, surely nobody would have expected both a goal and then an assist. And he's the man who, at the moment, and as things stand, has single-handedly booked the Dons' place in the last 16.
Well, they were going through a few things in the technical charts just before he came on. They saw an area that Ryan Longman could really contribute to. And he's adapted to men's football, senior football extremely well. And it's another good bit of business that Wimbledon have done with this arrangement they've got with Brighton. It's really good to see from Ryan Longman as well. He's doing a very good job indeed out there, and partnership well with Joe Pigott. It's coming on particularly well for him.
As Arsenal themselves look to try and muster up a late riposte there, was dinked in over the top of the Dons' defence. At least that was the intention towards Joel Idaho, but it was very well warded off there. Good interception from Terrell Thomas, and Nick Sanev able to do the rest. As Dons now find themselves caught offside. So free kick to Arsenal, midway inside their own half. Heading towards the final 3 minutes then of the regulation time. Wimbledon 2, Arsenal 0. And for the second time this season, and as things stand, the Dons on the verge of overcoming yet another very promising academy side in this season's Papa John's Trophy. Just need to see out the last couple of minutes now and make sure there isn't a late door of opportunity left ajar for the Arsenal side. It's clipped forward again by Socrates, but in the end goes way beyond Nicholas Muller and is easily collected by Nick Sanev. Anything happening on the social media front in Young Rob? Have we been left to our own devices? Well, those of you listening anyway, greetings and salutations as we endure the third floor ice and cold conditions here at Plough Lane. But no doubt that, particularly since the introduction of Ryan Longman, it's been all good for the Dons. They've warmed the cockles of our footballing hearts, and very nearly an opportunity then to move forward as Saliba now gets himself into a spot of bother, and as well, a foul on Chislett. It looks as though Saliba had slipped on the turf, but the referee ruling that well, it's a second booking in fact for Saliba. So now Arsenal ending this evening as things stand with 9 men. Well, goodness me.
No frustration getting the better of you here.
Well, it'll be interesting to see that that second yellow again. It didn't seem to be along similar kind of lines to the one for Akinola, where it was kind of petulant and kicked the ball away and it was a real fit of temper. It'll be interesting to see that challenge on Ethan Chislett. And even if fractionally mistimed, of course that's reason enough for the referee to brandish the yellow card. But, well, Arsenal have really imploded here in this second half, and having at one point looked so reassured at the heart of that Arsenal defence alongside Socrates, William Saliba is sent to the stand for a second yellow card. And now that surely is the final piece of anchovy in the Arsenal exit pizza from this season's Papa John's Trophy.
Yes, indeed. It's Wimbledon have done extremely well in the second half here. They've stepped up their game, and for a few of these young Arsenal players as well, it's just been a little bit too much for them as well on the night, as we're about to see the overtime verdict tablet be held aloft.
Indeed, we've got about 15 seconds remaining then of the regulation time. And we did have a long spell when one of the Arsenal players was down injured, and that's pretty accurately reflected in the 4 additional minutes that we're going to see at the end of this particular cup tie.
For these 9 men Arsenal players to hold out and not concede a third.
Nightingale as well to ward off the threat of Moller. Clears the ball into Arsenal territory, in fact out of play towards the west stand here at Plough Lane. So throw in then to Arsenal. And certainly they'll wonder how it's all gone so dramatically wrong for them this evening. But from a tactical and certainly towards the end from a disciplinary perspective, ultimately losing their heads, the Dons keeping theirs, benefiting from the inspirational introduction of Ryan Longman with that goal and that assist for Paul Ossiu. And then those 2 dismissals for Arsenal on the strength of second bookings has ultimately set the seal on an evening of misery for them down here at Plough Lane. And as we were talking about the Dons keen to progress in this competition. Now look as though that is going to be fulfilled for them at the end of this particular encounter. As Idaho now plays the ball forward for Arsenal, but too far ahead of Kedo Taylor Hart. And Dons can now come forward for maybe a bit of a late riposte in the shape of Chislett, who turns it back though to Terrell Thomas. Cross now to Nightingale. Here's Kalambayi, 10 yards inside his own half. Forward now for Seddon. Piggott, who tries to fight it down the right hand side, but too far ahead of McLaughlin. It's a throw into Arsenal, but how do you feel that Steve Seddon has done down the right hand side? Certainly it was maybe a bit of an eye-opener maybe for some of the fans listening or watching around the world, Rob, but he certainly had a good old tussle there with Lopez down that particular flank, and maybe on another night he could have borne even further fruit for the Dons.
Yeah, he's been an excellent addition, of course, in both his spells with Wimbledon and opportunity for Wimbledon now.
Here's Chislett into the penalty area. Oh, and it's 3-0 for the Dons, and from the edge of the 6-yard box it's Joe Piggott who's rounded off the win for the Dons. Nice little passing move, it was threaded through, he got the better of Lopez and then I think more or less stuck the ball through the legs of Carl Hine. And well, in the third minute of the 4 additional ones announced for stoppages, it really is now turning into something of a rout for the Dons, and credit to them. Certainly bided their time, had to deal with plenty of Arsenal domination in that first half. Not that much by way of opportunities for them in the first half, even up to the introduction of Ryan Longman. Again, minimal pickings for them, although they're still enjoying a fair deal of possession, but not really able to make that real critical incision into the Arsenal defence. But then Ryan Longman has changed all that, the goal and the assist, and now Joe Piggott as well, another substitute getting in on the act, has turned this into a very, very profitable night indeed for the Dons. And well, as we move towards the end of the 4 additional minutes, it's now Wimbledon 3, Arsenal 0, and Joe Piggott, well, I think that's his 6th goal already here at Plough Lane for the Dons. And sure enough, that's it. It sets the seal on a wonderful victory in the end for Wimbledon. 3-0 here, all the goals in the second half, as Arsenal, well, particularly in the wake of the admittedly planned and intended half-time withdrawal of Gabriel Martinelli, ultimately found themselves running more and more into a yellow and blue cul-de-sac in their attacking aspirations. And then Ryan Longman, sent on, sensing blood, sent on with nefarious intent by Glyn Hodges to try and maybe make the evening a little bit less smooth for Messrs Socrates and Saliba and co. Ultimately achieved that aim. The fine shot from the edge of the box. Then the assist a few moments later for Paul Ossu, though an emphatic finish. And then Arsenal, having then seen 2 of their players dismissed, Saliba, and then well, Akinola was first, Saliba was second. Ball threaded through the depleted Arsenal defensive ranks, and Joe Piggott